Robert Parish is presented by his teammate from the 1986 NBA champion Boston Celtics. Here is Hall of Fame center Bill Walton.
Robert Parish is a man of exquisite nobility, gentility, and grace. And he is exactly what the Basketball Hall of Fame is all about. A hallowed institution to properly honor the legends who never had any interest in ceremony, recognition, or self-promotion. Robert, in the early days, was the most unlikely candidate to ever make it to this grandest of stages, growing up in the sweltering heat of the slow and small town of Shreveport, Louisiana. Robert was the oldest son of Robert Sr. and Ada Parish's 4 children. He is also the only family member to ever pursue a life of sport. Even though Robert did eventually become one of the game's greatest players, his story starts with the game of basketball choosing him, a quiet, reserved young boy who was already 6'6" in the 7th grade. Shreveport, Louisiana was a different place in the 1950s and 60s than it is today. It was a classic southern town, old money, segregated, and resource-rich. Segregation and racism plagued the lives of so many of the best and the brightest of the day. If it were not for the efforts of Robert's parents and one man, Coleman Kidd, Robert would not be here tonight on this most special occasion of his 50 years. Robert did not particularly like basketball at the beginning, the game more of a nightmare and an obligation than a passion. Robert used to regularly skip practice in the early days, and it was then that Coleman Kidd would come to the Parish family home just a scant 6 blocks from the segregated Union High School looking for his wayward protege. It was in those formative years that Robert started wearing his trademark number 00. On the day they passed out the uniforms in junior high school, it was the only jersey left. Things began to change for Robert with his mentor Coleman leading the way, but also with the changing times of America in the 60s. Union High School was closed down, and Robert now attended the integrated Woodlawn High School, where his coach Ken Ivey, along with Coleman Kidd, witnessed a remarkable transformation. Robert was now falling in love with the game that he would later dominate. You couldn't keep him out of the gym. When they finally had to shut down the high school court for the day, Robert would head directly for Hattie Perry Park and its public rec center. Seemingly overnight, the extraordinary change was complete. Robert was now a star, an instant sensation with enormous promise. By the end of his high school career that included a Louisiana State championship, he had received more than 400 scholarship offers, yet Robert, always heavily influenced by the loyalty and closeness of his family, decided to stay at home in Shreveport and attend Centenary College, a mere 6 miles from the family home. It was at Centenary that Robert played for the next major influence in his burgeoning life, Coach Larry Little. Centenary was an independent school when Robert played there in the mid-1970s with no conference affiliation requiring the team to travel constantly just to get a schedule. And with only 900 total students at Centenary, it was the smallest Division I school in the United States. Centenary was also on NCAA probation the entire 4 years Robert was there. Robert, like all the other basketball players at Centenary, had the opportunity to transfer somewhere else because of the sanctions. But when the school president, Dr. Jack Wilkes, promised to honor all of the school's scholarship commitments, Robert's decision to come to Centenary and seeing it through with that commitment, it was all validated for young Robert. Playing college basketball in an era that predated cable television, VCRs, and national newspapers, Robert received absolutely no media exposure. Nobody knew who he was or what he was doing. Nobody, that is, except the pros. Robert was at Centenary 4 years, earning his college degree in education. Yet, under the rules of the day, was drafted by the pros every year, something that his mom, Ada, would have no part of. The scouts knew then what we have all come to know about young Robert. It didn't hurt that in the opening few weeks of his college career, that he had one game of 50 points and 30 rebounds. Robert loved life at Centenary, a primarily white Methodist school. Robert lived in the dorms all 4 years, never had a car, simply walking wherever he had to go, just as he had done his whole life. The biggest problem that Robert faced while in college was that Coach Larry Little could not get him to shoot enough. Completely immersed in the college lifestyle, Robert had it all. Academics, a very active social life, basketball, and family. His parents and siblings attended every home game and many of the road ones as well. Mature beyond his years, and even at this tender age, Robert was already the even keel, the steadying influence, the leader by example of everything he touched, even his domination of Centenary's intramural baseball program. Always quiet, dignified, and congenial, Robert became the proud leader of something very special, carrying on the brilliant tradition set by his father, Robert Sr. Upon graduating from Centenary, the NBA's Golden State Warriors drafted Robert with the 8th overall pick in the 1976 draft. Tonight, he becomes the first and only member of the first round of that draft to make it to the Basketball Hall of Fame. Robert joined a Warrior team that was already a world championship level squad, but the transition was difficult as he had to now sit and watch others play the game he had learned to love. Once again, strong and true Americans selflessly came through for Robert. Most notably, Clifford Ray and Al Attles were constantly there for this young prodigy, who was now forced to deal with his own frustrating disappointments and the cruel realities of the professional game. By the third year of Robert's record-setting NBA career, things were starting to break for him. But the Warriors were now a team in decline, and all the great legends and times, sadly, a thing of the past. At the end of Robert's 4th year in the league, he was definitely at a crossroads. Waking one fateful summer day 23 years ago, Robert learned that he had been traded to the Boston Celtics. The beginning of a 14-year run that, like everything else Robert has done, changed the course of history. Red Auerbach took a chance that day on someone who others had begun to question and doubt. That chance was as brilliant a move as Red has ever made. Blossoming in Boston, Robert now found a new home, much like the new home that Robert bought for his parents back in Shreveport, a new and glorious residence out on the lake on Shreveport's west side. Robert's parents were reluctant to leave the 7-room family safe haven that they had served them so well. Mr. and Mrs. Parish stood for continuity and loyalty. Robert was ultimately able to convince Mom and Dad that this would be a good thing. Although for years after the move to suburban Twilight Meadows, Robert Sr. would still get up extra early in the morning and drive back to the old neighborhood so that he could ride to work as a welder for the Riley Beard Manufacturing Company, working with his lifelong buddies. New homes usually bring new friends, and Boston was no exception. None more important than our great coach and mentor, Casey Jones. But even the best of times have to come to an end someday, so after 14 fantastic years with the Celtics, Robert knew it was time to move on. 2 years in Charlotte, a closing hurrah in Chicago with Phil Jackson, and the record was complete. 4 NBA championships. A member of the NBA's all-time team is one of its 50 greatest players ever. 9 All-Star games, and the countless league-wide and franchise records, which includes being the NBA's all-time leader in games and seasons played, to say nothing of being in the top 10 all-time in such varied categories as most minutes played, total rebounds, offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, and blocked shots. Robert Parish turned 50 less than a week ago. Tonight, we celebrate his spirit, his humanity, and his life. Robert is as fine a person, teammate, and player as I have ever known, on and off the court. And playing behind him for the Celtics was like following the Brinks truck down a bumpy road after they left their back doors open. Today, Robert is larger than life, the Renaissance man, living in Charlotte, North Carolina, focusing on the values and personal characteristics that he saw every day in his mom and dad so many years ago in Shreveport. Family, Robert is the proud father of 4 children. Neighborhood, community, and continuity. Robert likes to refer to himself as a simple man, a loner. Don't be fooled by his genuine humility or the calm, stone-faced demeanor. Robert is a special human being with incredibly varied interests. As an avid reader, world traveler, movie, sport, and entertainment aficionado, Robert's biggest problem is that there is just never enough time in any single day. Robert was also one of the real innovators and trendsetters in NBA history, always impeccably dressed, so clean, so pretty, so dignified. Robert was one of the first to have his own one-word nickname, Chief. He was at the forefront of the physical fitness and nutrition revolution that has transformed today's game. And his decades-long involvement with the martial arts is an example we can all learn from. Robert's place in the history of the game is secure. Only 3 big men have won more championships: Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and George Mikan. Some will say that Robert was lucky, that he played on great teams with unbelievable talent. The reality is that we were the lucky ones to be on his team. As great as it is to be Robert's teammate, it is even better to be his friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Parish.
Congratulations, Chief. Come right here. Casey. Robert Parish. In every best sense of the word, you have been the consummate, ultimate professional your entire career. Hardworking, dedicated, team-oriented, and always an example for the younger players. And tonight, you join the circle. A lot of hard work and dedication your entire career. And by unanimous vote of the Honors Committee, and by the power vested in the Board of Trustees Hall of Fame, I think you know how personally special it is for me to be able to swear you in as a player on my watch, with all rights and honors and privileges. Welcome to the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, Chief.
Well, after that introduction by Bill, I think I should say thank you and sit down. Bill, thank you very much. It's very kind of you. I'd like to thank you personally for being here and sharing this moment with me. I have a great deal of respect for you, for what you have endured, all the frustration and adversity with all the injuries. Bill has had to have loved the game of basketball to endure what he endured. So I am very proud to have him as my presenter today, because I have great respect for him. And as a teammate, when we were teammates for 2 years, I got to know him as a person. And I respect him even more, because anyone that knows Bill Walton knows that he's brutally honest, no matter what the subject matter is. And I always respect that about Bill. And Casey, I want to thank you for being here and being a part of a very special time in my life. I have great respect for you. You're a man of dignity, pride, and grace. In a word, you're just cool. Hopefully one day I can carry myself the way you carry yourself in life, because you've been successful at every level, college, high school, professional, and you will never know it by the way you carry himself. So hopefully one day I can carry myself the way you carry yourself, Casey. Thank you very much. I won't be very long, be short and sweet. There are a few people I want to thank first. First of all, my parents, for their sacrifice and dedication and commitment to me. I know it wasn't easy. You know, 7th grade, I'm 6'6", can't buy anything off the rack. We didn't have a lot of money, and all the extra went to buying clothes for me. So, so I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for what I am and who I am. My parents, thank you very much. Also, I'd like to thank my mentor. He's like a big brother to me, Clifford Ray. took me on his wings when I got drafted 76 by the Golden State Warriors. I was there to take his job. He never felt threatened by my presence, never was intimidated. He taught me about the ins and outs of the NBA, about being a professional, about being committed, focused, and dedicated, about you got to be an athlete, a pro athlete for 12 months out of the year, not 8 months. I learned that lesson the hard way. When I got drafted by the Celtics in 1980, I took the whole summer off. I was so excited about being traded, new team, new environment. I started training 12 days before training camp. I paid dearly for it. Not to mention, I had a drill sergeant of a coach, Bill Fitch, reminding me of my lack of commitment and dedication to the game of basketball. So I learned a valuable lesson from Clifford about dedication and focus. And I love you like a brother, Clifford. Thank you very much. I wouldn't be standing here today were it not for my junior high school coach, Coleman Kidd. He used to come to my house for a whole month, taking me to practice. Every day after school, I would run home, trying to avoid him. He'd come to my house every day, play basketball. You may not believe this, but I couldn't stand basketball. Hated it. He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. I was just a tall, lanky young man, 6'6", and he took me to the gym every day, taught me about work ethics, commitment, and dedication. You know, it was an ugly pitcher. I couldn't catch it. I couldn't hold it. I couldn't pass it. I couldn't shoot it. You know, I had a fat lip. I even got a black eye. But he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm standing here today, because he was committed, he was dedicated, he was focused. He never had nothing discouraging to say to me. He always encouraged me when there was nothing to encourage me about. So I have to give him a lot of credit. Matter of fact, all the credit for me being here today, because had he not been so dedicated and commitment to my future, he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, I would not be here today. He told me that I could make a living at basketball. And I told him, how could he say something like that? Had he not been watching the practices? But after 2.5 years of practice, dedication, and working at it, I started to show some promise. You know, things really started to turn around for me. I would like to thank all my teammates, all the coaches, all the doctors, trainers, chiropractors, all of them. You know, for everybody that kept me going, kept me on the floor. I'd like to thank all of them. I also like to thank Red Auerbach for making that trade, revitalizing my career. I needed it. Thank you. I'd like to thank my sister, my brother, for your dedication and support. The last 3 years I played, it was because of them right there. Encouraging me, telling me to keep playing, don't give it up. Why would you want to give up something that's been so good to you? I want to thank my children, Tamika, Latoya, Justin. I want to thank all of you for being here and sharing this moment with me. I appreciate your loyalty and support. I know I wasn't there for you like I should have been, but I appreciate your understanding. Thank you. I love all of you very much. And thank all of you very much. Have a good night.